He said, look at me, honey. I want you to live hard. This is your one and only life. It's the only show in town, and you can't get any of your days back. I want you to live as if you're going to be old someday, looking back at all the things you've done. It's the things you didn't do that will bug the heck out of you. So, to all of you, it's our one and only life. And there's so much ahead, and it's neat to look back as well. But running has put me on right here today, and I'm one lucky girl for it. Yes, I was born with big lungs, but I was surrounded by people who live hard and taught me how to live hard and do the finish line pose as well. Oh, and the smile. So thank you for that tonight, and thanks to Don and Bob and all of you and all the people who I've been lucky to run with and been lucky to have as part of my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. You probably don't remember this, but way back when you were in high school, there was a road race where they bussed us to the start over, I think, in Kentucky, and we ran downtown. I was the guy in the seat next to you. You were a little high school girl, and you were just chatty and happy. And I remember that when you got famous, I've always stuck with me because I feel kind of lucky that I was the guy in the bus next to you going to the starting line. A happy memory for me.
The next time you say that story, can you skip the way back?
Yes, I'll skip that part. I think it was like 2 years ago.
Good point.
Our next inductee is Al Lanier. Anybody who's ever seen Al compete won't forget it. So we'd like to have the presentation for Al from Mr. Chuck Hunsaker.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back in Cincinnati. Especially good to be back in Cincinnati for a track event. I got involved in track as a sophomore in high school when the cross-country coach asked me to give cross-country a try. Excuse me, it was a defining moment of my life. Virtually every good thing that's happened to me in my life can be traced back to that moment, and I'm here tonight because of it. When I was in college, I decided I wanted to be a track coach. When I graduated from college, I got to coach 1 year at Allen East Junior High School, and then moved into Lima, Ohio, and coached at Lima Senior High School for a year. At the Ohio Track Coaches Clinic that year, I met the coach at UC, and a few months later, he offered me a graduate assistantship. I came to Cincinnati in the fall of 1968. After I completed my master's degree, Coach Paul Armour asked me if I would like to remain on his staff as the field event coach. I always felt my strength in coaching was in the running events, but I gladly accepted that opportunity of remaining at UC, coaching the field event athletes, and gaining some additional knowledge on those events. Over those 2 years, we recruited some great athletes. One of them was was a long jumper from Hughes High School named Al Lanier, and remaining at UC gave me the opportunity to work with him. When I recruited athletes, I always looked for two things. First was their performance. It's easy to compare track athletes. They compete on the same 400-meter track or the same long jump runway. But the other thing that I looked at, I think was even more important, at least in my view it was more important, and that's how they competed, how they did in tough competition. In Al's case, he graded out as an A in both of those areas. His high school performances were very good, and he could always rise to the occasion by doing things like winning the state championship. When you can look at an athlete and look at those two characteristics, break the rules of math and have 1 and 1 equal 3, you know you've got a very special athlete. Al Lanier was such an athlete. He was a good football player, he was a good basketball player, he was a great dancer, and he was a very good track athlete. I always thought that Al was the kind of athlete who could excel in anything that he set his mind to. At the conclusion of the 1970 season, Paul Armour decided to leave UC and move to Ashland College. He recommended me to be his successor as head coach. Fortunately, UC agreed and offered me the job. It gave me 2 more years to work with one of UC's greatest ever athletes. During his time at UC, Al had improved his performance in the long jump and had mastered the triple jump. Doing both of those events is not necessarily an easy thing because the move off the board is dramatically different. You have to lower your hips and your center of gravity to get some height off the board in the long jump, but you have to just run off the board in the hop phase of the triple jump, and a lot of guys were not able to do that. Al had no problem. He had shown his ability to compete with the best in the Midwest during his first couple of years, but during his junior year, he showed that he could compete with the best people in the entire country. During the NCAA Outdoor National Championship, the National Indoor Championship at Cobo Hall in Detroit, he nearly won the long jump, placing second, becoming UC's first ever track All-American. He followed that by placing third in the triple jump, qualifying for his second All-American award. That NCAA competition, I think, really had a positive effect on Al for a couple of reasons. One, it marked him as a force to be reckoned with in USA track and field, but more importantly, it allowed him to realize just how good he could really be and what he could achieve. As we moved to the outdoor season, he set a school record in the 110 high hurdles and continued to excel in both the long jump and the triple jump. We went to the Drake Relays, a meet I always thought was the best meet in the country. He won the long jump, becoming UC's first ever Drake Relays champion. He also received an invitation to the Martin Luther King Freedom Games in Philadelphia, where he competed with some of the best athletes in the world. To give you an idea about Al Lanier, the athlete, let me just tell you a quick story. At one of our outdoor meets, I was watching Al compete, and standing next to me was a great coach from Miami, Chuck Zodi. Chuck was one of the nation's great field event coaches. He looked over at me and he mentioned that if Al used his arms a little differently coming off the board in the triple jump, he thought he could greatly improve his performances. When we got back to UC, we got the movies out, looked at some film of some of the world's great triple jumpers. We looked at some film that we'd taken of Al, and sure enough, his arm action was a little different, was not as efficient. Now, a technique change like that as a coach, you kind of wonder whether you even want to do that at that point in the season, because sometimes it can actually be detrimental. And it sometimes takes quite a long time to master a change like that. But by the next week, when we competed, Al was flying off the board with perfect arm action. At the conclusion of our outdoor season, we went on a 3-week journey to championship meets that end every season. That trip may be the best 3 weeks any UC athlete has ever had while he was still a student athlete, and I feel confident that I can add to that regardless of sport. Our first stop was Wichita. Wichita State University hosted the United States Track and Field Federation Outdoor Championships. Al placed in the long jump. He won the triple jump, becoming UC's first ever national champion. We went on to Seattle, Washington for the NCAA outdoor meet, where Al placed in both the long and the triple jump, adding 2 more All-American selections to his repertoire, and he also then became UC's first ever outdoor track All-American. Finally, we drove the Coastal Highway from Seattle to Eugene, Oregon for the AAU National Outdoor Championship. Again, Al placed in both events and qualified for the Olympic trials. A few weeks later, we returned to Eugene for the Olympic trials. As usual, Al competed very well, but a strained hamstring muscle hampered his performance, and he only finished 4th in the long jump, one spot off the team. Now, that meet ended our outdoor season, but it was a truly great season. In fact, I think it was a historic season both for UC and for Al. During his senior season, he again placed in both the indoor and outdoor national championships, gaining 4 more All-American selections. And following graduation, he joined the Army, where he competed nationally and internationally as a member of the All-Army track team. He was a member of the Pan American Games team where he won the bronze medal in the long jump, and he was eventually ranked 4th in the world in the long jump by Track and Field News. His school records in the long and triple jump still stand 40 plus years later, which I think provides a true picture of his greatness and certainly validates why we're here tonight. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to present Al Lanier.
Thank you, everyone, for actually showing up for this event. First and foremost, I do want to thank the good Lord for allowing all of us to be here today. God is good. It's very important that you keep that in mind. Next, I would like to thank the Greater Cincinnati Running Hall of Fame committee members for making me a selection along with all these great individuals up here. And thanks a lot to a lot of individuals out there